Hey, so I look awful. Sorry about that. I haven't had a shower in a couple of days. Today is day 24, and I just want to talk about this super quick because it keeps coming up online and it also keeps coming up in my mind too. So I'm presenting symptoms. It's day 24, and right now it's all in my sinuses. So I'm not as stuffed up as I was a minute ago, but it seems to be starting to clear up a little bit. But you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm really stuffed up. So earlier this morning, when I first got up, my heart rate was 156 beats per minute, and I had a full-blown head flu kind of thing going on. So I was coughing. It was upper respiratory, like a productive cough, and sneezing and blowing my nose, just snotty, like you've got the flu or whatever. And so that passed, and I've been about an hour or two, and then I felt fine for a little while, and my heart rate lowered, and then all of a sudden I got all stuffed up in the head, and that's where I'm at right now. So this is day 24, like I said. The conversation I want to have about this is people say, well, at this point, like this far into it, like day 24, you can't be contagious anymore, or surely you're not contagious at this point. And I've thought about that a lot because, I mean, like quarantine sucks, right? But I've thought about that a lot. But I feel like this is my stance on it, and I feel like we don't really have any facts. We all have feelings, we all have opinions, and I respect all of those. But I just want to share my stance on it from the perspective of someone who's actually going through it. So I have whole days where I feel fine. Well, I'll say fine. My heart rate is still an issue, and I still feel kind of flush and off. But I have whole days where I'm not presenting these cold symptoms. And then I have days where they're cycling, and I go from, and I'm shaky, so sorry if the phone's shaking. But I go through like this whole head cold thing, and then I'll go from that to this piercing headache and diarrhea, and then I'll feel fine for a few hours, like totally fine. And to me, I feel like as long as I'm presenting symptoms, I'm not going to risk anyone else's health or happiness or livelihood or anything. So as long as I'm presenting symptoms, I'm going to consider myself contagious. Now, whether or not that's true, we don't know, right? There's a lot of things we don't know. I think there's more we don't know than we do know. So it could simply be a matter of the virus kicked off an immune response in my body, and my immune response is on this cycled loop that's not stopping. So I don't know if the virus is still in my body and still running its course with me, or if it's simply my immune system stuck in a loop of response, that it's responding to something that's no longer there, but it's stuck on that loop, if that makes sense. I'm not a doctor. I'm talking from my personal experience with this virus. And the other thing is the testing is really off the mark. So I have had 3 negative COVID tests. Hello, I'm sorry, I have snot. I've been sick for 24 days. I haven't been out. The last person that I was around prior to getting symptoms was 8 days before. So I saw one person, the only person I'd been around this whole year, and he had been out working or whatever, and 8 days later I came down with symptoms. Like nothing else really has that lead time. They did go ahead and test me for strep and flu because my throat was so red, and like all kinds of other stuff just to rule everything else out. However, and they did rule everything else out, and I'm diagnosed COVID. And there are a lot of people in the same boat that are going through the same thing as me. So if you don't have a positive COVID test, fortunately I'm self-employed and I work from home, but people who don't have a positive COVID test have to go back to work, or they can't get sick pay, or they can't get unemployment or benefits or disability if they have long COVID. There are people who've been sick like this since March. And they're kind of stuck in this limbo spot, where they can't get any assistance or help because they don't have a medical diagnosis and they don't have a positive test. That same subset of people who are testing negative for COVID with obvious symptoms, they're presenting, and they're diagnosed COVID are also, interestingly, testing negative for antibodies. So I don't know what's up with that. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm speaking to you from quarantine. Anyway, the point that I wanted to make was, regardless of why I'm presenting symptoms, whether the virus is still in my body, which with the test being 20 to 40% false negatives, there's no 100% way to know if I still have the virus in my body. We don't have testing nailed, you guys. And with as high as a 40% inaccuracy rate, there's no way to say for sure, for certain, that I'm not contagious. And so my stance on that is the only thing I really wanted to share, because this keeps coming up. And of course, I've thought about it a lot too. My father is dying today, actually. And he lives just across the river from me, like a mile away. And I can't go over there and sit with him. You know, like, I feel like it would be socially irresponsible. That's the point that I wanted to make, though, is that we don't know for sure if I'm still contagious or not, if you're still contagious or not, when you are or when you're not, because the testing is inaccurate. But my personal opinion is, as long as I'm presenting symptoms, even though I have days, like I had 2 full days with no symptoms, Sunday and Monday, I think it was. I don't even know what today is. And then the next day, full-blown head cold or flu symptoms all over again. So I am playing it safe. I want to be socially responsible. I don't like the idea of being the person that gives this to anyone else, because regardless of what people say on the internet, it is not just like the flu. It's not, just a bizarre virus that affects your body and your immune system in really weird ways, and it affects everyone differently. In fact, the only consistent fact that we know is that it's random and inconsistent. That's it. That's the only fact that we know, is that we don't know a lot. And so I just wanted to address that, because people keep saying that on my post. You can't be contagious anymore. And I just want to say, I don't think that any of us know for certain, and I want to play it safe as long as I'm presenting symptoms. This is day 24, and it feels like shit. If you want to know the absolute truth about it, I have more news and updates that I'm really hopeful and excited about, and happy about, but right now I'm getting the hard shakes, and that usually follows the cold symptoms. So I can now breathe again. I would just want you to see firsthand how this works. So when I first got on the video, when I first got my phone, my nose was so stuffed up I couldn't even breathe. But as we got started, I could start to breathe, and now it's clearing up, and it's just like a weird cycle like that. And what follows that is the hard shakes, and I get like where I'm shaking so hard. It's just starting right now, but I get where I'm shaking so hard that I've dropped my coffee cup. I've spilled my coffee everywhere, and yes, I switched to decaf. Just so you know, I did switch to decaf because of my heart problem. Anyway, this is the next phase, and I know, because these cycles have hit me for 24 days straight, that the next phase after this is diarrhea, which is a lot of fun. So I have to go now, because this is a really weird thing. When I get the shakes, I also get really emotional out of the blue. So if I've I don't know, it's easy to have some kind of dark spots or whatever with this, and there's a cognitive thing with this particular virus too, and just whenever I get the shakes, it tends to make me really emotional. Like I cry for no reason, although I have plenty of reasons to cry lately, but it's a weird thing. I just for those of you who have experienced it, I see you. I know that it sucks. I acknowledge that something is wrong and we don't know the answers. I just want you to hear that and know that I wish I could reach out and just hug you, because it sucks not to be acknowledged or to be, blown off, or, I'm glad you're feeling better today. It's hard to get hopeful. For those of you who haven't experienced it and you're not really sure what to think, or you're reading a lot of mixed messages or whatever, my advice is avoid it like the plague. It's not, this virus is trippy, it's weird, it's really all about your immune system, and it's about bio-individuality. We are all so unique and so different in our markers that you cannot predict how it will hit you or affect you, or how long you will be impacted by it. I don't know that. I don't have the answer to that for myself even yet, and I'm on day 24. So anyway, I'm going to cut this short, but my main point that I wanted to make, because I got to go, a main point that I wanted to make was, for me personally, as long as I'm presenting symptoms, even if it is just an immune response and the virus is no longer in my body, which I have no way to know because we don't have accurate testing, I am playing it safe. I am not going to take any risks. I am not going to possibly pass this on to anyone else. So that's my particular stance on it until we know more. I'm just going to assume symptoms equals contagious. But we don't know. But I just kind of wanted to kind of go with that and say that, I think that we all play a part in this, and we have to come together and do everything that we can to help each other and support and encourage each other. There's everyone from, nurses and doctors and grocery store workers and UPS delivery guys and the USPS, and like there are people who are holding it all together for us, and then there are sick people. There are a lot of sick people, and I don't care about the survival rate. We don't. What do you know about the percentage of people who are like me, who are home suffering and struggling and scared and have questions and no answers and all this other kind of stuff? That's a huge percentage. There's a lot of people going through this right now. There's a whole nother subset of people who haven't gotten sick, who are depressed and struggling and isolated and trying, to play their part and be socially responsible, and they're suffering in other ways. And I just want to say to everyone in every situation, no matter what yours is, I acknowledge that this is hard. We are going through a pandemic, but we're going through it together, and let's please do that. Let's come together and figure out what can we do and how can we play our part and become more connected instead of more divided, because we need each other more than ever right now.